Hello, everyone. So Emily's Barnes series did a pretty good job of explaining some of the ideas we came up with, so I won't repeat too many of the things you've already heard. The alternative version of the exhibition also deals with four central concepts, the first of which is pretty identical, and it's this idea of the young archer as Cupid. So using an augmented reality touchscreen, we can have visitors view the archer, but in a slightly different light, posing a visual question of, is it? Maybe it is the Cupid. So they could also be allowed to pull up more information or other augmented reality artifacts that will explore the idea of the Cupid as a deceptively dangerous character. Stories and illustrations could shed light on why the young archer's lion's paw might actually be a reference to Cupid. The other interactions I thought about take a slightly different approach to delivering content. I think Babar brought up an excellent point in his video regarding designing for Sophie, or what essentially boils down to designing interactive experiences for traditional spaces and those who frequent them. I agree 100% that Sophie is likely to view some technologies as tacky or distracting. An art museum like the Met might very well be a place for her to escape the digital world. However, I think we can also assume that Sophie's appreciation for art could also translate into an appreciation for interpreting classical works in innovative ways. I really think that we shouldn't be afraid to be creative with technology here, but I do think that we need to be extremely careful in designing experiences where the technology really enriches the interaction and doesn't distract from it. Like Babar said, we're here to deliver content, not technology. So the first of the other ideas would be the provenance section. Now this is pretty similar to what I presented a few weeks ago, but I really feel that presenting it in this way would really enrich the story and give the user more depth than a traditional upright touchscreen. The act of physically moving an object through a storyline really gives a sense of moving through history, moving through a story and a narrative, which is, I think, one of the strengths of the young archer. I'd also like to note that the statue used to move through the story doesn't actually have to be a statue or a physical object, for that matter. The object could be a more stylized form, or it could be a digital artifact that is moved across the screen via touch. The last two sections, physical attributes and forgery in the Renaissance, I've combined into one exhibit concept that could be instantiated 2 times, but with different form factors. Both of these beg the user to make comparisons. For the authentication portion, the user is making comparisons between the young archer and other works of Michelangelo to see similarities or differences in technique. For the forgery concept, we can put the user in the place of the art historians and ask them to compare between real and fake. For this, I thought it would be great if the user was allowed to manipulate both the young archer and another artifact at the same time. For someone like Sophie, I think the opportunity to examine, contrast, and compare the young archer with a statue that is not even present would be a really positive experience. By setting up 2 displays side by side and creating some central control interface, users could rotate, pan, and zoom into 3D models, paintings, illustrations, or other artifacts that have connections to the young archer. These could be touchscreens or projections that cover an entire wall. The controls portion could be physical knobs, sliders, or buttons, or it could be a dynamic touch table that allows for swiping and multi-touch gestures for manipulating the models or moving through the content. One interesting thought is that the 2 screens could be linked, so that a user could literally drag and drop or otherwise move a model from one screen to another. This would allow them to dive deeper into the background content of the object, like the sleeping Cupid forgery, while still examining the piece itself. That's all I've got for today, but I'm looking forward to the feedback on these ideas next week, and also kind of explore this question of interactivity and designing for formal spaces. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye-bye.